All righty, we're talking to John Waite. John, good to talk to you again. Good to see you, my friend.
And nice to see you with the beard and everything.
And I love the glasses, by the way.
Oh,
Those
well,
are
I mean, it's early. Where I am, it's like, well, are we on the same time zone?
well,
It's,
sometimes we are, but right now we're at our time. It's around 9 a.m. So
oh,
around your
it's
time, I
only
believe it's 8 a.m.
8. Yeah, it's not that bad. I get
It's
up at 6.
it's still
But
early,
by 7 o'clock, I've got so much coffee in me, I'm kind of running around the room.
You're ready to roll.
And, what can I do next? Yeah.
So, John, you're going to be at the Rialto Theater here in Tucson on March 7th.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing the show. I think the closest you got here recently, you were up in Phoenix at the Celebrity Theater, I think. And I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember if
Yeah.
it was a couple bands on that show. If it was it Colin Hay?
Yeah, that was the Rick Springfield thing, right?
Yes, that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah, it was like a package tour. We had like 30 minutes or something. We had like an insane amount of time, and it was supposed to be unplugged.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, do you want to come and play unplugged for like 30 minutes and we'll pay you this much money? And I said, sure. And then I thought about it and I thought, well, I can't play to, you know, 7,000 people unplugged. It just isn't going to work. I'm not Bob Dylan.
So you
Uh,
you came in electric?
no, we the night before one of the gigs, that like 2 nights before we started that tour, we were in Florida and the drummer was with us. And we went to a huge music store and he bought a tiny Ludwig bass drum and put together a kit. It was just a tiny Ludwig bass drum, a snare drum, and a hi-hat. And the bass player's playing electric anyway, but it was sort of a semi-unplugged. Uh, it wound up being really loud, and it was kind of cool. We came out and played Change and When I See You Smile and Midnight Rendezvous and Best of What I Got and Head First, I think. Well, all the big songs, Missing You, whatever. And then we did Whole Lot of Love. And so it was this kind of thing like Led Zeppelin 3. It was kind of like and it was very successful. I think at some point we were just there to fill up the seats. But in the end, we had everybody on their feet, and it was kind of we never go out there just to play a show. So we always go out there to bring it. And so just because we have a great drummer, Alan Childs, he could actually play
Hmm.
a snare drum and a bass drum and a hi-hat similar. That's all he had. And we give him a drum solo just to see what he would do.
And how'd he do?
He did great. The crowd loved it because I mean it was obvious that we were the underdogs. We were just like but we had all these giant hits. So it was the word is incongruous. That's the word. It was like we shouldn't have really been there. But I love that. It was like being in the Babies. It was like being opening for some mega band and blowing them off. So we had a great time. It was a great tour. I like Rick a lot. He's a great guy.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've seen him a few times, and I'm amazed. I think he has found the eternal fountain of youth.
He's like, we were backstage in Las Vegas and it was an open air show in a big square downtown, and we only had this like stone building, this one room, and the road crew were in there, and all the bands. And I'm up there like packing up after the show, and Rick's about to go on, and he whips his shirt off to put his stick, and it's like Jesus, man, how did you do that? But he's like committed. He's the guy that goes out and meets the fans afterwards and goes the extra mile, and he always shows up. We did the Kings of Chaos. I did that thing with like superstar guests with the drummer from Matt Sorum, from Guns N'
Oh
Roses.
yeah.
And then I got up and did that in Indianapolis at the Indy 500, and he was on after us. No, he was on first, and it was raining. And he went out, and there was just like 20,000 people there. And and the band was great. George, the drummer, I mean, he's got a great band too. So, good times.
So what can people expect on March 7th here in Tucson at the Rialto Theater? I mean, I think it's been a while since you've been here, if I remember correctly.
Well, the show is, we have so many hits. It's kind of like, it's almost embarrassing. I mean, we don't. we've never gone to that level of being a mega act that can fill out stadiums or go beyond a couple of thousand people, which is kind of how I've played it. I've always tried to come up with something every couple of years that was not what you heard before. A couple of years ago, I released the Wooden Hearts series, which is 3 albums that are unplugged.
Hmm.
And nobody expected that, but it's something I've really wanted to do since the 80s. And so I kind of go off in my own world and then I step back into it. And we have this power set of like number ones, go 2 number 1s, maybe like 5 top 20s, and then songs that didn't go top 20, like the Babies stuff, that are hugely popular. Oh, actually, we got a couple of Babies songs were Isn't It Time? Every Time I Think of You were both top 20. But it's like we're a dark horse. You know, we show up and we have all this other stuff. In the middle of the set, we do an acoustic section.
Oh, cool.
There's and there's a slight country edge to the storytelling. There's songs that need explaining before we go in. So it's kind of an intimate thing, but
Is it
it's
kind of like a little bit of that behind the music kind of thing that used to be on
yeah, it
VH1?
is. The Bluebird Cafe song is a beautiful song about the Bluebird Cafe. And we stop the show in the middle and we play that just the acoustic guitar and me. And we do it in front of 2, 3, 4,000 people. We just do it. We did it with the Rick thing. I mean, it's a challenge, and I think it's part of the gig, part of the responsibility of being an artist, to throw things out like that and challenge people. I mean, if it was the Rolling Stones, they would do it. If it was the Faces, they would do it. And the basic blueprint for the band is that kind of music. It's like a 3-piece band with a singer that can handle it, and every night's different. It's an interesting evening.
Who's in your band?
Well, at the moment, we're changing things up. We're in a state of flux. I'm off to New York on Monday. Then I'm going to Europe to see my mum. Then I'm coming back, and we start this year. But we have a new a lineup, and that's a secret, really. We're
All
going
right.
to figure it out. But it's we've changed the band up for this year. It's going to be a bigger band.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and in the middle of the year, we go out with Foreigner and Styx on a really massive American tour. It's like playing to about 12,000 people a night. It's a big deal. And for that, we're bringing in keyboards. My old friend Buck Johnson,
Oh,
uh,
cool.
he's out with Aerosmith, or he was, but he's coming into play. And it's going to be a big deal. I think it's going to sonically, it's going to be huge, and it's a different thing from what we've been doing. I'm stepping into that place where I want to deliver um, a wall of sound, really, but
Hmm.
still compartmentalized, no synthesizers. You know, I'm not into that. It'll be Hammond organ and keyboards, but it's going to be really strong. And we're really looking. I mean, Buck is like a tremendous singer too, so a lot of the background vocals will be just like, you know, it's going to be a really powerful tour. So it's yeah, Styx, Foreigner, and John Waite for
Wow.
this. Yeah.
Man, I'm looking forward to I don't think they've announced that show yet here in
Oh
Arizona, but
yeah. Well,
let's
it's all over the internet, and they've announced it in the press.
oh, I'll have to look that up. Sometimes we don't get the Phoenix shows down here in Tucson. So we have to
Yeah,
look that
well,
stuff up.
you know,
But I definitely will. I've seen Styx a ton of times and Foreigner. I actually have gotten to have a few chats with their singer
yeah.
because his dad actually lives here in Tucson.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yes,
Yeah, how about that?
yeah, it's weird when I met him. I looked at him. I go, "Wow, you look like your son without hair." Okay, so
Wow.
yeah, you can see where the genes came from. Very nice
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Very nice man.
yeah.
Got to see him again at the last Foreigner show here in Tucson.
Sure.
So are any new music in the works?
Well, 2 years ago, I put out an EP called Anything, and it was
Hmm.
a 5-song EP, 4 new songs, original songs, and a Dylan cover, Masters of War. And I've always wanted to do that song, but with what's happening in Ukraine, I really felt compelled to just open my mouth. I mean, when I first heard that song, I was maybe 14, and it's a heartbreaker. It's an extremely eloquent take. on the people that control the strings that create wars, and it's usually the leaders. Most leaders are gangsters, and whole countries are drawn into losing their sons and daughters over something that could have been solved diplomatically. It's always the same. And these people are monsters, really. They're really egocentric. They're just whatever they are. I don't get it, but it's a wonderful
Sad.
song, and I cut the song. I'm quite proud of it. Masters of War. If you want to hear it, it's on iTunes and the whole thing. You can stream it. But I did that 5 songs, and
Mhm.
just as an aside, I made an album maybe 10 years ago called Rough and Tumble, and we had the #1 song at Classic Rock, and
Mhm.
it made no difference at all to anything. I mean, I was #1 on the classic rock charts with this title track, and nothing happened. And I'd been in the studio for like 2 months, uh, beating myself up and spent a fortune. And, I distributed it. It was on Universal, actually, that one. Uh, Hugely successful and didn't really oversell. It wasn't like, oh, that was great. And you realize at some point that the game has changed so much that every time you put a new record out, it just drops dead. You have people's attention for like 2 days, maybe a week, and then they're on to the next thing. And it's always wonderful to go in the studio and record songs, but I must have over 120 songs recorded out there, and new songs like 2 years ago doing the EP.
Mhm.
But I'm in no hurry to go back in and break my heart making a record and have it disappear in 2 days.
Well,
You have to really reconsider how the business is now.
it's interesting, a couple points on that. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he said he was reading an article where they were talking about people's attention spans. 20
Yeah.
years ago was about 3 minutes, 45 seconds, and that is literally cut in half now,
Oh yeah.
20 years later,
Yeah.
because everybody's doing this on their phone.
Yeah. There's
And
too much information.
I've noticed in radio in the programming side that, when music comes out, it's, the labels really don't have a lot of the power like they used to.
No.
And the economy of the music industry has changed to more of a live economy compared to
Yeah.
a selling a hard copy of something.
Yeah.
And but I've noticed too that, we'll play a record and it used to be we could hold on to it forever and ever and ever, a song. And then, 8 months later, the artist releases another song. But now with the attention span of the general public, it's like we're lucky if we can keep it for 6 months, if that.
Yeah, no, it's like I could release Missing You now, and it would do what it did then. I think it's that kind of song. It speaks to everyone,
Hmm.
but it would be gone maybe in 2 weeks. The original never really went away. It was like #1 video on MTV for like 12 weeks. I mean, it was that huge, but everybody's releasing their best shot because they know it's going to be brief, and it's a dogfight up there. And the commerciality of everything has become so pronounced that people are actually thinking, uh, is this commercial? It's not about is it a great song? Does it speak to people in the innermost hearts? Are you really being an artist? It's not that. It's about, is this going to sell how many copies? If you sell a major artist, if he sells 40,000 copies, everybody's thrilled. And then it's down to streaming and seeing what that does. And then, deluxe editions and all that stuff. Whereas you could have a gold record uh, if you got top 20 years ago, and you'd go platinum if you were #1. That's a million copies. Everybody waiting to go to the record store, can't wait to get your new CD. They
Hmm.
want to meet you. They're invested in it. When I was a kid, I couldn't wait to go down to the record store to get the new Jimi Hendrix album or Free
Hmm.
or the new Rod Stewart album, the Rolling Stones, and you'd get it and it smelled a certain way and it had all the artwork and it was beautiful. And you'd walk around with it and it was like, yeah. But now it's everything's virtual too. You don't really own the album unless you pick it up at at the live shows, and that's an industry in itself. I mean, that's I we sell albums at shows, and we sell out almost every night. I mean, it's like people want it, but the situation, the model that would make it work, the internet has killed it completely. So maybe
Are you,
that's what's wrong with the world. I mean, people are just getting too much information.
well, I think that is, it's almost like information overload.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like when I was reading this thing about my buddy turned me onto about the attention spans. It's how many times have you been out with friends having a nice dinner conversation with them and their phone dings and
yeah,
suddenly they're like this. They're like, you're like, are you, well, I'm here. They're
yeah.
there.
I mean, Bob Lesford said in his, we did an interview a couple of months ago, and he said, nothing is everywhere. I thought that was tremendous. I mean, everything's ephemeral now. Everything is just like, and I do believe it's altering the psyche of the world.
Hmm.
People can speak out without any kind of responsibility,
Hmm.
culpability. They
Keyboard
can,
warriors.
yeah, it's just like, and you can start a war with that kind of thing. You could actually dismantle somebody's defense system and go in and bomb them. I mean, it's like the presence of a human being having the conversation, even though we're having one now and it works, but people that are on the marginal, people on the outside of things can really have an impact on something they shouldn't be involved with. And it's all complex now. You don't know who you're speaking to, and it's Big Brother. It's really George Orwell. It's pretty scary. I mean, I
Well,
don't know where it's going to lead us, but the world has never been where it is right now.
well, when it first came out, I thought it was a cool thing. And I enjoy social media to keep in contact with friends out of town and
Yeah,
stuff like that. But
yeah,
as I've gotten older, I'm getting more and more away from it because what I've noticed is people tend to stay in their comfort bubbles and block people they disagree with. And I have friends that I disagree with vehemently about stuff,
yeah,
but we have discussions
yeah.
and kind
But,
discussions. But I see that
but,
blow up
but
on the internet.
yeah, but seriously, though, that discussion when it's meaningful is when you see them in person.
Yes.
I mean, even when like me and you, I could just go like, I've got to go now and hit the off button. I mean, showing up. It's about showing up emotionally, intellectually. It's about being in the real world and not being able to walk away from things. Be
Yep.
responsible, you know.
Yeah. When you're having a conversation in person, you can't go block.
Yeah.
It's like
No. You
you have
hope
to,
the phone rings.
yeah, and you also have to, I see people saying stuff on social media that they would never say to somebody's
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. I see. That is exactly right. I mean, that's it. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, we're all becoming compartmentalized in our own world. I'm in my bubble here, and I'm in my little castle, and I can talk to anybody in England, or I can get on my Facebook page and answer some people's emails, but I don't really go out the front door to do it unless I'm on the road. The road really does bring that out of you again. We have a meet and greet, and I make a real point of spending at least 5 minutes with people.
Oh, that's
Sometimes,
great.
yeah, and sometimes it's 10. I mean, I try to make them welcome and look them in the eyes, and I'm glad to see them, and I enjoy that exchange. But if somebody's come to the show to see me, I want them to leave thinking, yeah, I met him. He was all right. He talked to me. He meant it. And you have people in a meet and greet, you just stand next door to them, and they take your picture, and it's like, yeah, thanks. And it's like 100 people at $100 a time or something, and it's like, what the fuck is that? That's just low rent.
You know what I've noticed is the selfie has become the new autograph.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because it's like I've seen more people go up to celebrities and can I get a picture than the old days was, can I get your autograph?
yeah,
Do you still get people asking for autographs? Or do you know, is it
yeah.
becoming more of a selfie thing?
Especially after the show, but when we go out to the van to be gone, people bring CDs and albums, and scratch plates from guitars and all sorts of things. They want you to sign something. Um, and I try to sign everything. We
Oh, awesome.
spot the people that are gonna, get you to sign 10 things and then put them on eBay. Uh, Recently, I became very aware of that. People are really insistent. You say, no, that's enough. I've signed two things. And then they go to the back of the queue and they come back up and pretend there's somebody else. It's a business. But also in places like Ohio, which is, depressed industrially, financially, I try and sign everything because if somebody can make $40 out of my signature on a scratch plate, it helps. But when you see it on a bigger level, when somebody's a businessman that's showed up to get it, but these days it's like no. I saw Keanu Reeves on a YouTube, and some guy walks up to me and says, "Hey, sign this, will you, Keanu?" And he goes, "Get the fuck out! You're gonna sell
I
that."
saw that.
And yeah, and I thought, well, right on. There's nothing wrong with telling these people that you're being used, but you can spot the genuine ones.
Oh yeah, like when I've gotten autographs before, to me, I'd also like to get them to sign it to me. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, this is a personal, cool thing to me.
Yeah.
Like one of my most cherished things that I have, it's a ticket stub, and on the back of the ticket stub, Christine McVie signed it to me.
Oh, great.
So,
Great.
and it especially meant more after she passed. I was like going,
Yeah.
wow. And
No, I've,
I,
I've got I've got Steve Marriott's phone number. I met Steve Marriott in New York, and we got up on stage and played together in this little club, and went over to his house for dinner the next day. And he gave me a little piece of paper with it. He said, "Steve, I've got it up. It's over there with a picture of my dad, and it's got his phone number, and it's the sweetest thing. I've got Noel Redding's
oh, wow.
autograph on something, and I got Ringo's drumsticks that I
Oh,
that I picked up when I was playing with Ringo on the All Stars. There's things that are just sweet to have. You have no idea what you're going to do with them, but it's a little piece of somebody.
well, it's also obviously, being a musician, you're also a music fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I met John Mayall in the lobby of a hotel in Texas about 5 years ago, and that was huge. I mean, when I was about 14, all I listened to for a year was Are You Experienced by Jimi Hendrix and Blues Breakers, John Mayall with Eric Clapton. That's all I listened to. When it finished, I just turned it over, put the other one on. My brother had brought him home. I couldn't afford to buy him, but I had this little record player. But to me, he's like it's like Mount Rushmore. There's people that are that serious. John Mayall. I was playing him last night. It's fantastic.
So, I've interviewed a bunch of musicians over my years, and sometimes I ask them this question, and I'm sometimes surprised. A lot of them say that they actually don't listen to a lot of music outside of their own. But it sounds like you're a music fan. You listen to the older
Well, yeah,
stuff and
yeah.
different stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking about John last night, and I've always been like an archivist in ways I collect music, outtakes. My drummer Alan Childs just sent me a different version of White Room by Cream.
Oh
And I
wow.
listened to that. Yeah, there's like a different version out there in the studio. But I don't really listen to singers anymore. I mean, if I'm in the car with my girlfriend and she's playing like country music or something, I get irritated because every time you're playing a singer, I'm listening, like I'm critiquing it, and within about 5 seconds, I know if I don't like it, if they're pretending, if they're overdoing it, and a lot of them do. But I listen to a lot of jazz and I listen to a lot of blues. I like I like authentic singers. I like people who are faulted. I mean Ella Fitzgerald, uh, Bill Evans on the keyboards, Free, the early band with Paul Rodgers and Andy
Hmm.
Friz, John Mayall, Hendrix. Uh, and classic, I mean, I don't, I've got extremely eclectic tastes. And growing up, I did a documentary last year. It came out last year called The Hard Way. It's 2 hours documentary. You can get it on Apple Music. Download it. It's my life.
Oh,
Uh, and they asked me what I was listening to, and I'm talking about Marty Robbins, like country music, or Western music, really. I adored that as a kid, and that led me into country and Hank Williams, and that led to like Elvis, and then it was Gene Vincent, and then the Shadows, the Beatles. But in the film, I go, and then the Beatles happened. But beyond that, I was already listening to the Pretty Things, you know, and the Yardbirds a couple of years later. I mean, I was deeply into R&B and white R&B, the Jeff Beck group. I mean, it's like that was more serious to me because when you listen to the Beatles, they have tremendous vocal style. McCartney, there's only one of him, and John Lennon, there's only one of them. And whether they were influenced by blues is questionable because they have a more operatic kind of choice of notes. There's more notes in their scale, whereas blues is just down to three chords and the message. As Willie Nelson said, three chords and the truth. And that's my style of singing. I'm not one of those big singers that goes out with big long notes. It's a conversational thing with me.
Hmm.
So I don't really listen to those kind of singers. I find it, I just, you know, the classic rock thing of having the vibrato and big. I mean, I can sing like hell. I can hit just about any note in the book. And I do live and I do on the record, but I don't do it on purpose to impress anybody. It's just an emotional exchange with the audience. So I
Hmm.
have no idea where that comes from, but it's all on the wing. It's all just doing it on top of my head.
Serves the performance or serves the song.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Now, in our last conversation, we talked a lot about the acoustic stuff and that, but we also touched a little bit about your painting. Are you still doing that?
yeah. I mean, look at this. I even painted on the wall. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
And look at this. Hey, can you see that?
Oh, well, you're obviously still doing it.
Yeah, no, they'll be on John Waite worldwide next week. I do these things like I'll show you. It's this is one for a song called In Dreams. And I put the title at the top, write the verse down on the chorus, put a small caricature of myself. And it's a nice keepsake, It's if you could they talk about having an autograph.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is like the penultimate because there's missing you down there and Bluebird Cafe. But it's a cartoon. It's just like it's a thing from me to the people who love the music. It's not serious art. But if you go on John Waite Worldwide, we've sold maybe, I mean, there's a huge amount. Maybe I mean, it's a lot. But there's serious attempts to do more committed painting and going on at the same time. When I quit music, whenever that will be, I'm going to just disappear and paint. Yeah.
Well, I can tell that you're very, very talented.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I give it my best shot.
So, John, I'm looking forward to your show. It's going to be March 7th here at the Rialto Theater here in Tucson.
Yeah.
Tickets are already on sale. And then you're going to be, after that tour, you're going to be going on the road with Styx and Foreigner.
Yeah, that's going to be like 3 months. We're going into Canada too, which is great. It's hard to get into Canada and play gigs, but we're going into Canada too. Tickets are already selling at a phenomenal rate. I think there's already like 8,000 tickets sold for the Canadian show. It's going
Oh,
to be a
wow.
big tour. Yeah, it's going to be a really joyful year. I mean, I think as we get older, I think everybody wants to really deliver at this time in their life. You don't know how many more years you've got, or if you're even going to care to do it in a year or two. And we're still in it. We still love it, and we're still good at it. And I think everybody these days, when they get past a certain age, they're swinging for the fences. They're really going for it. So I think it's going to be a great tour.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Tucson show and hopefully get to meet you in person.
Well, I hope
Uh,
you come back and say hi, man.
I,
I'll try and get a beard going so we can, like, we can bond. We
all
can uh,
right. Yeah,
we can
like
do a Gillette commercial.
I always tell people you were one of my favorite interviews over the COVID pandemic. And again, you're one of my favorite interviews again.
Well, thanks, man. The questions were great.
Well, thank you
And
so
you know
much.
what? An interview is only as good as the interviewer.
Well, thank you. I
That's the
appreciate
truth.
that. I just try to make them like conversations between two
Yeah, well,
people.
that's what it's all about. If you go like, what's your favorite color, John? It's like, But like I mentioned, Ukraine. It's like, you know, it's not like being a good guy. It's like I'm really worried about it,
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
worried about those people. And I think we all are. If we like with the internet and being distracted, let's not get distracted in Ukraine because what's next is we hear that Germany is now gearing up for a war with Russia in 5 years' time. That
Yeah,
was in the news yesterday.
yeah, I
And
saw that.
Poland would be the next to get it after Ukraine. And, the West, there's only so much of it. And I think we need to protect the people that want democracy.
Absolutely, 100% agree. It's a
Yeah.
scary world right now.
Yeah.
It very much is. Well, you know what? I'm going to wrap things up here real quick because I got to get a couple more things, and this Zoom only gives me 40. So, but John, thank you so much. March 7th, Rialto Theater. It's johnwaiteworldwide.com if people want to follow you
Yeah,
and find out more info.
johnwaiteworldwide.com for the art and the list of gigs, and you can get CDs there, artwork. And I'm on Facebook. Uh, uh, just look me up on Facebook. I try to answer as many emails as possible, but I'm available, as they
Oh,
say.
that's fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
don't forget John Waite, March 7th here in Tucson at the Rialto Theater. Get your tickets at the Rialto Theater's website or at klpx.com. John, hold on a second. We're going to do a couple more things here, but
Yeah.
thank you so much, John.
God bless you, son. Thank you.